I remember we went to go see him. He was still in the ICU when we went to go see him. Why they let us do that, I don't know. Kind of wish they didn't because I will
Oh
never
gosh.
get those images out of my head.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
I just remember walking up to him when, the nurses finally told us that we can go in and see him.
Hmm.
And he was, there was just like tubes and like blood like everywhere. He had those like drainage things coming out that were like,
Oh gosh.
filled with blood, but he was still sleeping.
Oh my gosh.
Until the moment that he woke. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast and YouTube platform.
I love it.
Like, well, brain fart for a second there.
That's all
We
right.
are your girls here at Mindset Talks Podcast, and we hope that you guys are interested to stay tuned in this episode because I will be sharing my story with you guys. But first, before we get into that, I need to wish my very best friend Amanda a happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And I gotta ask you, how was it? We gotta let the people know. Did you have a good one? Was it a bad one? What happened? Tell me.
It was fucking terrible. I'm just joking.
You never
um,
know.
it was a really good day. I spent a lot of time with my family. So I originally planned for a super low key day, a day where we would go out to eat later. I actually didn't really plan that. I was asked if I wanted to go to dinner, being our first time out to eat as a family with the
Mhm.
baby. So I was looking forward to that, but I had a couple impromptu visits from my aunt and my cousins, which was nice. So we had like sessions of people coming over, which was so unexpected, but so lovely and kind of took the shine away from my birthday because everybody was so excited about the baby. So I've come to learn that really, when you have a baby, no one really cares about you anymore.
Oh, stop.
It's okay though. She's cute, so it works out. But I did get birthday gifts, which is always nice. Not that I rely on those, but
Right.
it's like, oh, okay, that's a good distraction. It's like, ooh, a shiny penny, like, oh, I got a birthday gift. So
God.
they're paying attention to the baby. I got a gift. Thank you. So that was pretty much my day. We did not go out to eat because little Mamacita was a big mad. And we have terrible timing as first time parents on when to go out to dinner with a baby.
We'll get
So
there.
we did get takeout, which was just as lovely because then I got to sit on the couch and watch one of my favorite shows.
See, there you go. I'm
Not
sometimes
even a
staying
favorite
in
show.
better.
It's true. It was nice because you could just be in your comfy pants and, not sit on the couch and eat, which I probably do too often anyways. But it was a good time nonetheless. And I do look forward to this weekend because I will be going to do some salt therapy, which
Ooh,
I heard about from a coworker, never have actually done, but it's so up my alley. I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to it. So,
good.
especially I feel like it's perfect timing too with being a new parent and just new stressors in life and just being in a different place in my life. So I want to see
Mhm.
how things feel with that salt therapy. And I will definitely let you guys know how it goes as
Good.
long
I
as it's
hope.
good. If it's
No,
a
you
bad
gotta say the bad
experience,
too.
no, sure, you're right, you're right. But I don't even think I'm gonna have a bad experience, to be honest. I think it's gonna be a really good time. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited. I'm just trying to like be a little less excited than I actually am, so I'm not like screaming in y'all ear about it. But I like trying new stuff like that, so it makes me happy.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's super exciting. I've heard of those before. I've never done it myself. But they seem really cool. And like you said, I think it is right up your alley. So
Yeah,
whoever got that gift for you, kudos to them because I know you pretty well. And
my baby
you're gonna,
father.
oh, oh well, that's exciting. And I know that you're gonna enjoy that. So I can't wait to hear all about it. And hopefully you'll send me a little private picture because I think it's gonna look really cool too.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, actually, I don't think I can because you put your stuff in the locker. I was
Oh,
such a nerd about this, and I literally read their entire website. when I first heard
God.
about it. I went to each tab and read each thing and like gave myself the whole, 411 on the place. So you actually have to put your stuff in the locker. You can't wear colored socks. Like if you have socks on, they have to be all white or they give you slippers because of something with the dyes in your socks that affects
Mhm.
the salt. Yeah,
Well, that's
random.
interesting. I never would have thought of that, but okay.
Same, but I mean, it's good to know. I would have went up to that bitch with some fucking socks that
Yeah, because I feel like I don't know why, but I just picture you wearing funky socks.
I don't wear funky socks. I just don't have all white socks.
So you wear funky socks, okay?
I mean, if gray is funky, that's fine.
Okay.
Anyway,
Do y'all hear this right now? No. Ah.
um, but yeah, so y'all will hear about this. I promise.
Well, I can't wait because I think that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
So awesomeness.
Well,
So
into
is there anything else you want to talk about today?
don't
Anything
make
else?
me spit out my drink. Goodness.
Anything else at all? Anything?
Um, I want to say that
She's really feeding into it. Okay, go
I,
ahead.
yeah, girl, I'm like so here for you. That I'm I'm so ready to hear what you have to say in today's episode. Go ahead.
You would. I really I should have kept my mouth shut. See that? Oh man.
You got to
All
get a
right.
little laughs before the hard chat. So,
I guess.
that's how I'm here for you.
Oh, well, it's appreciated. I'm glad that you're thinking about me. Just
Absolutely.
appreciate you so much.
Love you.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess it's only fair that I have to share my story because Amanda shared hers with you guys in our last week's episode.
Hmm.
And this is not the first time that, either of us have shared our stories, but we just think that since we are more than a year into our podcast, and it would be a good idea
Ooh,
to just kind of like refresh it. And because that first episode wasn't like the greatest. So
you got to start somewhere.
exactly. But so for those of you that don't know, I lost my dad in 2017 from ultimately throat cancer is the disease that he was battling for unfortunately a very long time. I have dealt with this for I would say just a very long time. So my dad was originally diagnosed in 2005. So that's like I'm not even gonna try to do the math. That's almost
Sorry, I just wanted to wait to see if you were going to do the math in 17 years. Sorry.
those 12 years. 12 years of
17
my
to
life.
now.
17 to now.
Hmm.
Oh, well, to now, yeah, but no, from
So you subtract the
2005
five.
to
Yes.
to 2017.
I'm so sorry. This isn't even funny.
Oh, this is just, people deal with the shit in different ways, and this is how I think we
L-
deal pretty much.
Literally, yeah.
But yeah, so he was diagnosed back in 2005. I was in high school when um so I guess how it really happened is that one of my dad's friends that he hadn't seen in a very long time, they ran into each other, whatever, and he made some kind of comment that said that he sounded funny.
Hmm.
Like I guess he said he kind of sounded like Mickey Mouse or whatever. Um,
Oh, that's a.
which
Hmm.
it's very interesting because also like if you haven't seen somebody in a while, like why would that be something I guess that like you notice, but at the same time,
Yeah,
like, we were around him all the time, so I don't think that we would have noticed because,
exactly.
you
You
know
were there with the transition of his voice.
right. So, it's not something that stuck out to us in particular, but
Hmm.
for whatever odd reason, and I don't even think that, like, I would ever, like, know the reason why, I'm sure maybe I talked to him about it or something at one point, but I just don't remember the reason why he decided to go to an ENT, which is an ear, nose, and throat doctor.
Hmm.
After this guy made the comment, he went to the doctor, and that is long story short, how he found out that he had cancer. They found a lump in the back of his throat, and basically they were like, okay, we need to do a biopsy of this because it is a very large mass, at the base of your tongue. And so when they did the biopsy, it did come back positive for squamous cell carcinoma of base of tongue.
So did he ever feel that?
I don't
Do you
think
know?
so. I don't really think so. I don't think it's something that he ever truly noticed.
Mm,
But like after the fact, it was, like always like trying to like clear your throat or like, trying to like swallow something, but like it was like a
that
little
wasn't really
difficult.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, because so it turns out that this tumor on the back of his tongue was the size of a lemon. And so they told him that like if he didn't get that checked out, he only had like 3 months to live,
Mm,
which is pretty insane because pretty much it would have just kept growing and eventually it would have just suffocated him. So
which
he
is
wouldn't have
wild.
been able to breathe. Isn't
Right.
it? Like,
Yeah.
if he never ran into this guy and then not even running into him, but, like, if he never went to go to the doctor because, like, people say, like,
Right.
weird shit all the time, but you're never like, "Oh, well, let me go, like, get checked out," you know?
Right. Right.
So, whatever by the grace of God, like, whatever that reason is, and he decided to get checked out, thank God he did because I truly do believe that it gave me all of that time that I had with him,
Definitely.
because I couldn't imagine, and I'd never, like, put thought into it if God forbid something happened back then in like 2005.
Right.
Um,
While you're in high school, right before you graduate as a teenager.
yeah, like I don't
Mm,
know, just so insane. And like thinking of like everything that, happened like after that.
you'd be a completely different person today. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, that is that's a fact.
Hmm.
So ultimately back then, what they wanted to do as a course of treatment was to give him chemo and radiation. And so he started those treatments. He finished out all of his radiation. I forget exactly, like, how many times that he went, but it was numerous times. They had to fit him in the mask, and
Mm,
they would pretty much, like not, like, tie him down, but, like, tie him down in, like, a chair so, like, he wouldn't move, put the mask over his head, and then they
yeah.
would target his neck with, like, the radiation.
Mm,
Um, and so due to that, he had a lot of, I guess you can say, well, no, certainly complications due to the radiation because it dried out his skin a lot. So applying lotion on like a daily basis was so crucial to like the survival of just like his neck in general because
right.
it pretty much it just like burns the shit out of you.
Exactly. And that's not something he used to have to do, was it? Like, did your dad
No,
really wear lotion before?
no, not really.
Well, and just because I know cultural differences too, so I had to ask,
Right. Yeah.
I don't
No. So
know.
no, it was definitely an adjustment, and I remember sitting there on the couch, and like I would sit there and like I would apply the lotion to his neck like
Hmm.
religiously every single day, because the
Yeah.
doctors would just say like how important that was. Um,
Wow.
and then he also lost a lot of his teeth. His teeth got really, like brittle and stuff because of all the
Hmm.
radiation.
Right.
He was definitely harder of hearing too, just because it was so close to like, kind of like that
The ear.
area.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think the worst thing that happened was that he actually wasn't able to eat for an entire year, because pretty much the radiation caused so much scar tissue in his throat to where it just closed it up completely and he wasn't able to eat anymore.
Oh.
So what they had to do was they put the peg tube in his stomach,
Hmm.
and so he was able to eat through that. So we had, like, the nurses come to the house, they set up this, like, pretty much I forget, like, what it's called, but it's like a feeding machine where we would
Hmm.
have to fill, like, the pouches every day with Ensure is what
Okay.
he would intake, and then it
Hmm.
would pretty much just kind of, like, automatically, like, filter into his stomach, because there was a point where he was, like, really sick and really weak, so it was
Hmm.
just better to have him on, like, an automated, like, system.
Yeah.
um, but when he got, like, stronger and was starting to, get better, he was able to, like, feed himself, so he didn't have to be tied to a machine all the time. He was able like, whenever he felt hungry, he would, have, like, a syringe, and he would, like, push it into the pig tube and,
Gotcha.
eat that way.
Was he able to eat things other than insured, like as long as it was like liquefied? liquefied.
We never
Yeah.
tried it. Um,
Mm,
from what I can remember, I just remember having like cans and cans of Ensure, and the
mm-hmm.
smell of that, like I
It's
will
not
just
pleasant.
no, I will never forget the smell. I don't ever want to see like another can of Ensure for like the
I
rest of my
bet.
life. Like it
I
was
bet.
just so it was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But just like thinking about that and talking about it, and when you asked that question, the only other thing I remember him taking was that we had to crush up all of his medicine. So we had
Mm-hmm.
like pill crushers and stuff, and then we'd have to like mix it in water, and then he would push that down like his tube.
Gotcha.
But that's the only other thing that like I can really remember him having besides all the Ensure nutrients.
Yeah. I feel like I kind of remember the Ensure, like seeing Ensure at your house,
Yeah.
but it's just like, you know, kind of like the convo that the three of us had before. Like, didn't really realize it was this much that it really entailed
Yeah, it was a
for
lot. I
you
just
to do.
yeah, it really was. I wasn't the only one taking care of him because
Well, no,
my
right.
mom was there and stuff, but I do just remember taking on a lot of that, and, like, whenever I came home from school, it was, checking on him, making sure he was okay. I would just sit there and,
Mm-hmm.
like, spend time with him and stuff because, like, I only know, like or can imagine, like, how lonely, that must feel because like, he can't work,
Absolutely.
he can't, do anything. He's just kind of, like, sitting on the couch, like,
And he
trying to
was very
process
active,
yeah. He is
you
a very
know.
active person. Um
Wow.
So yeah, and then eventually it got so bad too to where he wasn't able to talk either. Um, I want to say I don't remember exactly how long that lasted for, but it was definitely a long period of time. I would say if it wasn't a whole year, it was definitely a
Mm-hmm.
couple of months. Um,
Okay.
just because I don't know, just like with his like throat closing and stuff, he just wasn't able to
Mm-hmm.
speak. I remember buying him like a dry erase board so that way he'd be able to like write down, what he wanted to talk about and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so it was definitely very hard times, and kind of when I look back at it, I just realized, like, you know, like, how much stuff that, like, I really, like, went through that,
Mm-hmm.
just kinda seems like normal to me, but it's not. It's
Yeah,
not really
no.
normal, and it definitely made me had to, like, grow up a lot quicker than I think that I would have. I mean, granted, it was in high school, so, like, I was,
Mm-hmm.
older, but
You weren't an
still
adult. You
right,
didn't experience a lot of life yet either, you
right, and I
know.
feel like I skipped out on a lot of things too.
For sure. For sure. Like without a doubt, you know, but it's nice to be able to look back and realize those things.
Yeah,
Especially if you're willing to make a difference now, whereas you know that there's things you have missed out, but now that you're able to be in a place of taking care of yourself, you can kind of fulfill those empty areas as long as it's not too late, if that makes sense. Because it's empty areas, not like empty areas of what you could have done with your dad, but just other empty areas of your life.
yeah. No, it does make sense, and, I definitely do think that I have a lot of work that I can do, because in, um some recent things and some recent, like, conversations with you and stuff, I think I've kind
Hmm.
of realized, like, I think that having to deal with that kind of stuff when I was, so young, it really it I don't know, it makes it hard for me to kind of just, like, enjoy life.
Hmm.
I feel like I take things, like, really seriously, and I don't really just know how to, like, just, like, let
Let
go and, like,
loose and
live. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, I mean, and I'm not, here to, like, make excuses or, like, whatever, but I think that
No,
potentially has some kind of, like, an impact on my ability to just, like, I don't
be a
know.
little more free.
Yeah.
You've had to be kind of regimented in how to take care of your dad, and you've just been like all about business in a sense where it's just like, okay, right now is not the time to like let loose and do this and that because I got to make sure he's good, or like I got to make sure I'm supportive of him, even if you're not necessarily having to be hands on at the time, but just that you're available and you're there for anytime you may be needed.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's an excuse. I think that's just how people change and adapt. and then it becomes like your survival mode, and you just kind of hold on to that because there really hasn't been anything new and big to cause you to change that. You
Right.
became that because of something new and big to survive through it, and now you're just kind of coasting out. So, and it's hard. Like, we can't just let go of our parents passing like that,
Right.
and just how it's changed us within. Yeah, we can let it go, but it's not easy to let it go. So it's always going to be a work in progress for us. And especially in a situation like yours where, you've had to deal with that for a long amount of time. Even if you did get a break, there was still just a lot on the plate that you had to deal with in comparison, where I only had a year of time where it was like bang, 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 and done. Where yours was like bang, bang, oh, we good, bang, 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 we're not good,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, well, that's certainly true. And even during like the quote unquote like good years, it still
Hmm.
wasn't even necessarily good because,
Right.
he always had to go through numerous what like throat stretches. So
Yes.
that's actually what helped him. So eventually he was able to eat and speak again because he
Hmm.
went through a lot of these throat stretches, which pretty much was like putting like a tube down his throat, and then every time he went, they would, like, widen it just, like, a little more, so
Mm.
that way it would help stretch out the throat a little bit, but
Yeah.
not too much because they didn't wanna do any kind of, like, damage because if, they were to, like, rip something, like, God forbid, that
Right.
would have
Right.
been a lot more work. So,
Oh
he
my
went, like,
goodness.
little by little, and, every time they stretched his throat, they would have him do a barium swallow test, to where pretty much they make you, like, swallow something, and they put you in front of, like, an X-ray, and they watch you swallow it to see if it goes all the way down.
Hmm.
Um, so those appointments were definitely very stressful because I would be sitting in, like, the booth with, like, the doctor, like, watching my dad have to, like, swallow this stuff and then, like, watching it on the camera and, like, seeing it, like, just go, like, close to, like, going down the throat, but then, like, it just, like, wouldn't, and it would just, like, pool up here, and, like,
Oh.
it wouldn't go all the way down, and just, like, seeing that and then having to, like, look at my dad's face and try not to, like, make a reaction because he would be
Hmm.
wondering, like, like, did it work? Because all of his throat's, like, numb because and so he doesn't really know, like, the difference, right? So,
Yeah.
he would be, like, looking to me to see, like, did it work this time? Did it work this time? And,
Hmm.
um
It's like you just gotta wait for it to be done so the doctor can say,
right. Well, and he can tell, when I would give him, like, certain looks or whatever,
you're
I feel
not a
like
poker face person.
no. I have learned that as well.
Yeah, you're
I
not a
wear my
poker
heart on
face.
my sleeve.
Yes, you do. Big ass sleeve,
That's for sure. Um, but
which is
there
nothing wrong.
was is there though? Anyways.
Oh my gosh.
But there was one day where it actually did work. So that was obviously a really good day and it was exciting and it was the door for him to be able to start trying, some like liquid things and stuff. And I remember the first thing that he had was a popsicle.
Mm.
So that was pretty exciting day. And then, he was slowly able to kind of like build that up and eventually he was able to speak again. So that was, obviously awesome. Um,
Yes.
and it was a constant fight and work in progress because after that he had to routinely, get his throat stretched and he would
Hmm.
always be in the dentist and stuff because, his teeth were just so bad after that. Um, and yeah, I mean it was just kind of it was better. But it was obviously still like a struggle because it comes with so much side effects. But
Right.
um to just like mention and backtrack just a little bit is that so I've been primarily just talking about radiation, but he only had one treatment of chemo because it just destroyed him so bad to where his body just like couldn't handle it. It made him
Stuff is
severely
aggressive.
sick. It's really bad. I forget the name of it, but basically they had to like keep him in the hospital and like replenish like all of his, like fluids and like vitamins and all of this kind of stuff
Oh my
to like
goodness.
get him better. because the chemo like literally almost took him out.
Oh, I'm
So
glad it didn't.
same. But yeah, he was supposed to go through a lot more than he did. But he only ended up going through one. And thankfully, somehow, he still didn't need to because he eventually did become cancer free.
Yay.
And so that was definitely exciting.
Mm-hmm.
He was obviously able to enjoy a lot of life between, the horrible time starting in 2005 until and I still don't necessarily remember even how this all like transpired.
Mm-hmm.
But what I remember is surprising my mom and my dad at a Relay for Life ceremony in 2015, I want to
Okay.
say, because he was celebrating maybe 2015, 2016, because he was celebrating being 11 years cancer free.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure that I went to that Relay for Life ceremony. And at this time, I was living in Virginia.
Mm. I want to say you
Virginia?
were.
I want to say I came up from Virginia, but I left Virginia in 2014. So maybe I was
See,
in New York.
oh, I guess you came from New York.
But I swear I was in Virginia. Maybe I have my time frames messed up. But anyways, it's all a blur.
It really
Um,
does become one.
so he was celebrating his 11 years. He was super excited. I won't go too much into that story just because, whatever, time
Mm-hmm.
saving here. Um, but it was shortly after that, to where he went back to the doctor for some reason. I think something was like bothering him or something, and he was like really terrified um to like get checked out because once you're cancer free, you do still go for checkups, but they're just not as frequent.
Correct.
Um, and so I don't think that this was like a normal like checkup for him. I think that he went separately because he just felt like something was off.
Mm.
Um, so he went back and found out that his cancer had come back. Um, which, once you make it 11 years, right? You're thinking like I am good
In
for
the
life.
clear. Yeah,
Like,
like I did, like I paid my dues.
yeah, because that's such a long ass time, right?
It
So
really is.
like the last thing that you're thinking. But nope, sure enough, that bitch was fucking back and
Ugh,
it wasn't
toxic.
right? What the hell? Um, it wasn't on the back of his tongue this time. It was a part of his kind of like vocal cords area.
Mm.
So that sucked because um I'm trying to like really remember. I just remember the doctor like drew like a diagram of like his throat and like marked like where it was and stuff because he was not a man of many words, that doctor. And so
Oh,
he was uh he was a very interesting person. And he was very good at what he did. And I'm sad to say that I just found out, um, I don't know, in the last like year or something that he actually passed away.
oh
Um,
wow.
and
Oh,
that kind of sucked to hear. But
right.
he was like the best like throat cancer surgeon in like Connecticut or something, I think.
That's
Um,
really good.
yeah. So he pretty much told my dad that the only way to like try to cure you is to go into surgery because since he already did chemo and radiation, that just like couldn't be a thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so my daddy was really against it because he swore up and down that like the minute that like you get cut open, it's just like kind of a wrap. He thinks that
Opening
it
a can
just
of worms.
makes it spread a lot faster, but he was like, "I
Mm-hmm.
don't really have a choice, and I'm not really ready to, like, give up or leave, so fuck it, like, do what you have to do." But with this one, it was not fun, because when he went into that surgery, we all knew he was going into it, and it would be the last time that we would ever hear him talk.
Mm.
So you're not just talking about going in and removing, some cancer and you're going to come out and have, some complications or whatever and you'll be fine. No, this is a life-changing surgery to where he's no longer going to be able to communicate.
Like you
Um,
won't hear his voice anymore.
no. And how do you make that transition? How do you, still go to work and, make phone calls or, do like
Many
normal
of the things
things
you
that
usually do.
you
Yeah.
don't think about. So that was an adjustment, and I would say that that was probably the most traumatic surgery that, like, I remember witnessing, um, because when he woke up from that surgery, and if I remember correctly, this was a laryngectomy,
Hmm.
um, where they had to put a hole in his throat because that's where he would eventually try to talk from, and breathe out of, because pretty much they were cutting the cancer out of his throat, which wouldn't allow him to speak because it was in his vocal cords. And then also, he wasn't able to like breathe out of his
The way
like
he would usually breathe.
mouth anymore. Yeah, so he was
Yeah.
what they call a neck breather. He wasn't a mouth breather anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
so I feel like this is just gonna be there's just so many things. Um, so when he woke up from
Make it
that
easy on yourself.
surgery, well, and not even that, but I feel like I can go into like so many different like tangents because there's just so many things to talk about.
Mm.
Um, but he got out of that surgery. Me and my mom waited in the hospital. It was a long ass surgery. It was like 8 hours or something.
Oh
Like
my gosh.
it was just a long fucking day. But we ended up getting a phone call from the doctor who called us and told us that he was able to get all the cancer out, and so they had I think what is it called, like free margins or whatever.
Hmm.
They were able to get everything out plus some to make sure that they didn't miss anything or whatever. So that was
Right.
really exciting. And I remember we went to go see him. He was still in the ICU when we went to go see him. Why they let us do that, I don't know. Kind of wish they didn't because I will
Oh
never
gosh.
get those images out of my head.
Oh gosh.
I just remember walking up to him when the nurses finally told us that we can go in and see him,
Hmm.
and he was, there was just like tubes and like blood like everywhere. He had those like drainage things coming out that were like,
Oh
filled
gosh.
with blood, but he was still sleeping.
Oh my gosh.
Until the moment that he woke up for the first time after surgery and was in what just appeared to be like the worst pain in his entire life. And also the first time waking up realizing that like you can't speak. So you're in this like agony and you're out of your mind. You just woke up from the surgery. You're like trying to figure out, like where you are, like what actually just happened. And he can't
Right.
even communicate or like say anything to anybody.
Like how do you get your needs across?
And like there was just like blood coming out of like the tubes in his nose, and just like the look on his face and stuff. Like
I'm sorry.
that's the moment where like I completely like lost it. And I think I've talked about this before, to where I literally looked at my mom and I just like ran down the hallway into the bathroom, and I just completely like lost it. And
Mm.
thankfully, I don't know how my mom found time to do this, but she called my grandma somehow and told my grandma to call me and check on me because my mom was like trying to like stay in there and take
Right.
care of
She
my
can't be in
dad.
two places at once.
And then right. So
Oh.
I'll never remember that phone call from my grandmother and stuff. And grandma, if you're listening to this, I love you and I appreciate you for that conversation. But I'll tell you, I almost didn't answer that phone call because you're
Oh
not.
gosh.
She's not a lady who likes to hear people cry. And so
Oh
whenever I
my
talk to my
gosh.
grandma, I try not to cry. And it just wasn't gonna happen that day. So
Right.
I was scared
Oh
because I was
my
like, if she
goodness.
tells me that, like, I can't be crying.
I'm not gonna be able to get through this phone call.
Oh, but no, it wasn't like that at
Oh
all.
my
Obviously,
goodness.
she,
Grandma
understood
came
me
in
and
clutch
whatever,
and
but
did her
like,
thing. Hmm.
she did. And I couldn't be more grateful for that moment because it truly
Oh.
means a lot and it sticks out to me in my head. But that was just such a really bad experience that I never ever ever want to have to relive. Um,
I bet.
and just even like the days and stuff following was really hard because um I think that that's the one where they had to, like, reconstruct his throat. So they
Mm,
used, like, part of his intestine to create, like, a new throat. And part of that was that he had to have this, like, um, I don't know, like, a part of his intestines was pretty much, like, hanging out of the side of his neck because they need to
okay.
test it. They had to test it to make sure that, like, it was, like, alive, I guess, because, when you take something from one part of your body, whether you're doing a BBL or, like, whatever it is, like, they have to
Yeah,
make sure that, like, those tissues, like, stay alive or else, it
right.
can go, like, really bad or whatever.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
so that was terrifying, like, just, like, staring at it, like, when the doctors would come in and, like, poke it and stuff, because like, as long as it was, like, bleeding, like, they knew that, like, it was still, healthy and, like, working and stuff.
Right.
The weirdest thing, and me being me, I found it so interesting, but long story short with that is that it did eventually, like, take and all that, like, worked and stuff, so thank God, because if it didn't, I don't even know what would have happened.
I don't even want to think about what would happened.
No. But so that was a pretty interesting experience. And then, we kind of just tried to learn how to communicate and stuff. And that's where, I think me and my dad's bond like really grew a lot because I was able to really understand him and his lip
Yep.
syncing and all of this. So that was an experience. And then I know that we're, kind of, I'm saying a lot of things here. So my last part of this will be because I can go on forever. Um, I wanna say about a year after that surgery, um, we found out that, lo and behold, his cancer had actually come back again, and this time it was back on his tongue.
Mm,
And so what they had to do, or what they wanted to do, was do what's called a glossectomy, which is removing, part of the tongue. Um, so that was fun. I think
yeah, that definitely, like, yeah, it makes me speechless because it's just like, can the man get a break? Like, I know he had an 11-year break, but like, it's like, damn.
yeah, it spiraled and, like, went, like, crazy bad, like, out of nowhere. Um,
Oh,
so that's something that he was obviously really reluctant to do because he's like, "Well, you already took my voice and now you wanna, like, take my tongue? Like, what kind of quality of life, like, am I really
is
gonna have
that?
after this?" You know?
Yeah, right.
Um, so I know that he was definitely debating it, and I don't think that he wanted to do it, but the only reason why he did it was for me and my family, and
Hmm.
sometimes, I do feel, like, a little guilty about that, but also, I don't think that he would have done it if he truly just, like, didn't want to, um,
Right.
and that was just a hard one, and probably the hardest and obviously worst surgery that he went through because of everything that kinda, like, transpired after. But he went through the surgery. Excuse me, he went through the surgery.
Hmm.
He did have part of his tongue removed, which obviously made it really difficult at this time for him to eat, and he already had difficulty eating just from the radiation and stuff in the past that I described to you guys.
Yep.
Um, and this time, though, it had already spread really bad, so when the doctor called us, he told us that they weren't able to get the clean margins this time. Um, and they also had to remove his, I wanna say, external carotid artery, because you have 2 of them, you have the external and you have the internal, and one of
Hmm.
them supplies, like, the blood to the brain, but the other one I don't think is as useful, so they were able to remove that one.
And
Um,
by not getting clean margins means they weren't able to remove the cancer in whole.
correct,
Okay.
because it had spread too much.
Hmm.
Um, so and I don't think, no, we did know this. And so at that time, it had already spread to the base of his skull. Which is something that they did tell us in the beginning is that that's something that this cancer can do, is that it can spread like that. And then kind of like
Mm.
when that happens, I think, um, like dementia type of things come into play.
Okay.
Um, so I don't know. We didn't even have time to get there necessarily because I want to say 2 months after this surgery is when he went back into the hospital,
Mhm.
um, and never left because, well, I guess there's, like, some parts in between that, but we won't go over that today because this is
Oh, it's a
this
lot
is
for you.
already a lot. I feel like just my dad's story, I have to have, like, a two-part series because it
Right. Part
it was a
1 and part
very
2.
it was a very long experience,
Well,
but
yeah,
pretty
it
much.
spanned over a lot of time, and
That's true.
like you said, so much to it.
Yeah. And yeah, just so many things. But if you guys have any questions about any of these surgeries, just hit me up and I'll talk to y'all one on one because it is a lot. um, but
So kind.
so in July of 2017 is when he went back into the hospital.
Mm.
And thankfully, I wasn't there for that experience when he first went back because, according to my mom, he was like throwing up blood everywhere. And it turns out that he wasn't actually throwing up blood, he was throwing up the tumor. Um,
Mm.
so that was an experience that I'm grateful that I missed. Um,
Right, especially after that one the year before at the
yeah,
with his vocal cords.
yeah. And kudos to my mom because I don't know how that lady put up with everything that she had to because I just,
She loved the hell out of your dad. And
she,
that's like for people who are married, that's what marriage is. Like
mhm,
staying strong through really hard times like that. My God, that is love.
it really is. She definitely did, and she, still does. Um, and I think that's part of a reason why I find it hard to like, I don't know, also like let go and like live and, do things that like normal people do because like
Mhm.
I've already experienced all of that. So it's just kind of like, why would I want to get into a place where, you
You're gonna
know,
lose someone else.
right. And like I might have to, I don't know, just like get comfortable and stuff like just to go through like that kind of pain. Like, no, thank you. Like I'm,
Because life is all about focusing on the good and not the losses that you will or have endured.
yeah, but if it instills
I'm your
that
friend.
much,
We're gonna lose each other one day. You gonna stop being my friend? This bitch
no.
is over here contemplating it. The audacity. She'll just scratch her head and looking at me like, you know what? Now that you mention it.
You had a good point. No,
But
I'm just
anywho,
kidding.
I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I don't really know how to finish this part pretty much. But I don't even know. When he went back into the hospital, I went there like I don't know, the next day or a few days or something when he got there. And I didn't know this going into it, but I knew when I walked into that hospital room that just something was like off.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, you just like felt like the weird like energy,
The
I guess.
energy.
It was just really
Mhm.
weird. And then my dad decided to tell me, which again, he can't speak, so this is me, understanding him from reading his lips. Um, oh, if I remember like exactly how it goes, but pretty much he just told me that there comes a time when you just can't fight anymore. And you just kind of have to like give up just because like
Mhm.
you're just so tired of fighting. And
Right.
I knew in that moment when he said that to me that he had given up because he was just so over
Tired.
and tired of like everything that he's been through, and especially that last year was just so
Right.
hard. Um
Right.
and so that was uh that was my comparison to your mom telling you that, you know,
Mhm.
she knew what was gonna happen.
Yeah. Definitely. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Different
So,
words.
I do still respect him, though, for saying that to me because 'cause I'm sure that that definitely couldn't have been an easy thing to, like, sit there and
Oh hell
tell.
no. Oh my gosh. Like shit. Like and the thing is like they probably know you're coming, or it's just like you get there and it's like, oh gosh, I'm gonna fucking tell my kid.
Right? Like, that's I can't even imagine what he was thinking.
Yeah.
But after that, it quickly declined. He started becoming less and less responsive.
Mm-hmm.
We did get hospice involved, which did eventually help us understand what was going on. Because even though he did tell me that,
Yeah.
we're still sitting here trying to like keep hope alive and like feeding him and all of this. But the nurses and stuff were just kind of like, you're only hurting him by keeping,
Yeah.
you know, him getting like nutrients and stuff like that. So, um, once we fully understood what that meant, because even when they first told us that, we were still just kind of like, you know, what are you talking about? Like, my dad's fine.
Right.
Um, so we did eventually stop the feeds, and it took pretty much a month, for everything to decline, and then he eventually passed on July 30th of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I won't even get into the whole story of like how that went down and how we met each other in the hospital. And thankfully you were there that day. But
Yeah.
so I'll just say that Amanda was there when my dad had passed, and I couldn't be more grateful for that, even though I was very anxious that day. And I think I've told you this, in the back of my mind, I felt bad because I was like, Amanda, I love you, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk to you later. Like, I need to
Yeah.
go
See
be
my
with my
dad, and I
dad.
was like, "Bitch, I'm coming."
But then
I was
I
leaving
felt bad
anyways.
because your mom was in the hospital. I'm like, I don't wanna take you
Right.
away from, like, your mom, whatever. So it
I
was
was already
just
leaving.
it was one of
And
those
I,
things.
guys, at that time, my mom was new to having cancer and being in the hospital. So please don't think that it was the end of my mom's journey or something like that. And I was just like, that bitch could stay there. No, it was nothing like that.
Yeah, no,
Just
that's
so you
true.
know, it was nothing. It was just the very beginning of the journey.
Yeah. So,
But I'm glad I was there for you.
yeah, me too. Um,
Love you.
I love you too. But so that is the story. I don't I don't really know. I mean, there's so much more else I can say in details and all of this, but yeah, the journey started in 2005. My dad went through chemo, radiation, 2 surgeries, and ended up losing the battle on 7/30/17. So that's throat cancer in a nutshell.
Wow. Um, Maddie just made it just breezed right through that. You have dealt with a lot. It leaves me speechless even thinking of the journey you've endured with your dad and cancer. Like I said, mine was a quick bang, boom, done. And unfortunately, with your dad's situation, it was kind of like dragged on. And even though we have similar experiences, we'll never have the same experience. And I personally couldn't put myself in your shoes to even, I just couldn't put myself in your shoes.
It's a lot, but
So I give you a lot of kudos for still staying strong through all that. But me being me, I'm going to say what I gotta say. And as hard as it is, you gotta let some of your hard exterior shell go because you've had to protect yourself through that situation from not trying to be so hurt because we just want to be strong for our loved ones when they're going through it. And you gotta, like you said, allow yourself to be more free and have more fun.
yeah. I'm gonna say, girl,
And
we've
don't try to
been
cut me off as your friend either,
I
because you don't want
won't.
to be sad about losing me when we become old one day.
I won't. Just don't be mad at me if I just don't text you as frequently.
Excuse me?
I'm just kidding. I kid, I kid, I
Oh,
kid.
okay. Well, thank you. So thank you for sharing your story. Um, I'm sure there's others who can relate, and to some degree, all of our stories are different. So, but I
Yeah.
know it's more obviously than just us who have lost our parents or loved ones.
Mhm.
And on a side note, I do want to remind y'all that we do have merch, Mindset Talks podcast out for you, your family, and your friends. The holidays are coming up, so you might want to get them something nice, especially if you know they're listening to their favorite podcast. Oh, excuse me, I got too excited. Or they're watching us as their favorite YouTube channel. Um, like Cassie said in the beginning, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to us. Always tune in. We always have something new for you. Except for these 2 episodes, we wanted to do a little recap.
Mhm.
we have made it past our year mark and it's exciting. And for those of you who are new to listening to us, we wanted you to understand the foundation of where Mindset Talks podcast had came from. So
Yes.
yeah, do you have any good gems to drop other than that wealth of knowledge you shared with us about what you've endured and kind of who you are today?
No gems because I'm kind of drained from thinking and reliving all of that. But
Okay, no
what I
problem.
do want to say is a big shout out to my mama because
Yeah,
she purchased one of our T-shirts,
go mama, go mama,
and
yay!
I was so excited when I got that when I
She's
got
so
that
cute in her
message.
blue Mindset Talks t-shirt.
She is. I love it, and I appreciate the support. And if you are
Oh,
listening to
we
this,
definitely do.
well, hopefully you're not listening to this, so you don't have to relive all of these details either. But just in case you
Yeah,
are, thank you. We love you.
love you.
But
Well,
that is all I have. So I guess until next time.
until next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.